Hello everyone and welcome to Sage's Tabletop Table Talks. I'm Sage, this is my tabletop. Let's talk about tabletop role-playing games. More specifically, I want to talk about two major rivals here in tabletop role-playing game community. There seems to be two radically different mindsets when it comes to designing tabletop role-playing games these days. And those two are from the OSR, the Old School Revolution, and I'm not entirely sure what they call themselves, but very modern. I call them Ivory Tower Designers. These are people who are not designing games; they're designing experiences and things like that. And their motto seems to be have a heavy focus on role play. And I kind of want to. Hi, Jelly. Can you ignore me? 6.85 days of the week, and then the one time I have to record, you come out here, and you gotta be all cuddly. Mwah. All right, come on, Jojo. Yeah, Jelly, I know. Anyway, so first of all, let's kind of go over what the OSR and what these Ivory Tower game designers are. The OSR, so I'm going to separate two things within the OSR, and that is the actual OSR community and the type of games they make, which are called which I call retro clones, and I've seen them called retro clones. But the OSR is a community of gamers who think that gaming peaked in 1992, that Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd Edition was the greatest thing that had ever been created, that gaming has only gone downhill since then, and they're trying desperately hard to recapture kind of the spirit of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's 1st or 2nd edition, because some of them are very into 1st edition. But either way, they're trying very, very hard to recapture this kind of spirit of an older style of gameplay and an older style of gaming mindset. A couple examples of this community would be things like the White Box or Hackmaster, both of which are Hackmaster especially is very, very OSR, and the White Box wears its OSRness on its sleeve. It refers to itself as OSR. It very, very much claims to be an OSR game. The type of games but to me, OSR is a mindset of people. Not everyone very loud in the OSR community are interested in game design. Some of them just think that more people should play Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And okay, that's fine. I get that. But Cat, come on. Come on. Jelly, you are being really... And what I refer to these games are as retro clones, and I read one a long time ago. I had the PDF. I don't even know if I have it anymore. It's probably on an old computer that died. But Jelly. But they referred to themselves as retro clones, and there was no OSR involved, and there wasn't a lot of the OSR... kind of groggish mindset of realism in weird ways and kind of this idea of an old way being better. So I'll refer to the games as retro clones because I don't think... Jelly, I won't keep throwing you on the floor if you just give me some space, okay? We have a whole table. Go to the other end of the table, okay? But yeah, anyway, so... But the OSR mindset has this very, very idea that modern games, that they're too soft on the players, they're too coddly, there's too much involvement, there's too many, Jelly, stop. There's too many moving pieces, things like that. And in a lot of ways, I actually think they're right. I don't think that Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is some sacred system to hold ourselves up to in this divine light of perfection, but I do think in a lot of ways there's a lot of issues in modern game design They're not feeling like a threat, or huge amounts of things like choice paralysis or things like that. Um, and then on the other hand, we have like this kind of ivory tower game design where these games are about experiences. PBTA is one of the big systems I've seen that does this. The idea of like, oh well, you see, when you roll the dice, we give you an outcome, and then you decide how to get to that outcome, and it's like, okay, so I'm trying to do this thing. I rolled a 5. It's like, okay, well, the outcome is still there. I succeed or I stop that. I succeed or I don't, or the game's big thing is it's like, well, you'll succeed, but you'll take a damage or you'll have a negative consequence. And I don't find that's not role playing. That's not even encouraging role playing. Whatever. The Critical Role game, very, very much is into this too, where it's like, oh, well, you see, you roll a good die and a bad die, and then you look at those two dies, and they'll give you a good and bad result, and then you kind of use that, and the game, with those results, you build up and I'm like, okay, but like, I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to hit a goblin with a sword. I don't need some big fate thing. Be like, oh, well, you got a super fate lucky thing. I'm like, critical hit does extra damage. I get that. Fun, whatever. Fuck it. Oh, what's that? I got a big number on my evil or my unlucky die, whatever the fuck they call it. I don't remember what they call it. Fine. I get a big ol' hit on that goblin, and he also hits me back for some damage. This is not some fucking life-changing experience. This is just me and the goblin take our turn at the same time, guys. Games have been doing it before without being up their fucking ass about roleplay. And at the end of the day, you guys are kind of the same. You know that, right? Like, something I see a lot of things you'll see in the OSR is random generation for everything, randomly generate your stats. And then huge wild changes in stat arrays for different races. Like, oh, dwarf gets minus charisma and plus the constitution, and elves get a bonus to their dexterity but a penalty to their constitution. And in some of them, they give you wild changes. Like, okay, what's this? Well, you can play a fairy. What does a fairy do? Well, it gives you -4 strength, +2 dexterity, -2 constitution, +4 intelligence, -3 wisdom, +5 charisma, +2 appearance, -2. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, this is for this kind of mindset that you're building a character for a meat grinder. Which a lot of the OSR has, which is, character death anytime. A character could just, bleh, you roll 1d4 hit points for your first level, and if you roll a 1, you got 1 hit point at level 1. That's it. You better hope nothing bad ever happens for 3 levels, because you ain't gonna survive it. Oh, what's that? Your wizard died? Better roll up a new one, and by that we mean roll 3d6 down the line for fucking 8 fucking stats, because we have to add an appearance stat, and we have to add some kind of luck stat. And now you get to pick your character. Now you get to pick your character race, which will give you 14 different, modifications and abilities to note down. And now you get to pick your class again. Oh, you picked wizard because you want to play a wizard? Cool. All right. So now you got to write down your wizard shit. Oh, and now we roll for what spells you know. Okay, now you can. And it's like, okay, but I thought this was supposed to be like quick and dirty, like. It is. Oh, it is, but we got to make sure, there's verisimilitude in weird places. You roll 3d6 down the line because when you were born, you didn't get to pick your stats. Yeah, no, but by the time I was 18, I chose whether I wanted, I could have chosen to do more, sit-ups and push-ups and build up my physical stats. Or I could have chosen to read more books. I could have chosen to learn more. I have the choice what to do with my spare time to build myself up, where, this idea of like, well, it's the thing I hate about the OSR, and I don't necessarily mind random stat generation, but it's very locked in, very what you get is what you get, and their very mindset is, well, you didn't get to choose. You were just born maybe a little weak or a little stronger. I'm like, yeah, but even if I was born kind of strong and somebody else was born kind of weak, if I chose to do nothing but sit around and drink soda and eat donuts, and this guy who was born a little weaker than me spent every day of his life out there doing push-ups, guess what? By the time we're 18, by the time we're 15, age to adventure, I'm no longer stronger than he is. So there is absolutely choice in how we build ourselves up. And I'll kind of get into the other issue when I actually talk about how you guys are the same. But the Ivory Tower Design, like, I've gone over like the things I don't like about them, which is like this mindset of we're about storytelling and role play. And you know what? Just fucking get into it. Both of you guys claim to be about building role play. The OSR is like, oh, well, you see, by, having a character that's only got, one good stat that's not even in the class you want to be. Oh, you got a team of 5 fighters because nobody rolled a high enough wisdom to be a cleric. Well, that's just good role playing. Things like doing that is just a good role playing experience. What's that? You have 2 fighters in the party. One's got an 18 strength and one's got a 16 strength. Well, the one with 16 strength better be a better role player. And that's what it's going to do. It's going to encourage that guy to be a better role player. No, it's not. No, it's fucking not. It's just not. Having a character that isn't good isn't going to make a better role player. It's going to make a better gaming experience for the player with a shittier character. And like I said, I don't mind randomly rolling for stats, because I think that having wide disparities within stats isn't necessarily bad. But if I've got a wizard with an 18 intelligence and kind of 12s everywhere else, even if I've got another character with 2 16s, I still feel like my wizard with an 18 intelligence is still an exceptionally powerful and useful member of the party. And maybe the guy with 2 16s decided to build a fighter. So those, even though he doesn't have a stat quite as high as mine, those 2 really high stats are going to benefit him as a fighter who can put them in both strength and constitution. So even though I rolled a single higher stat and the other player rolled technically better than me, we both are actually still exceptionally powerful, and we're both exceptionally useful at our in our party, and we're both exceptionally good at our jobs. But this idea of just having shit build characters, characters who, well, I want to play a wizard. Up on my 3d6 down the line, I rolled a 8 for intelligence. Guess I'm not playing a wizard. And you end up in situations where it is entirely possible to have a group where no one rolled a high enough dexterity to play an effective thief. I'm not saying it necessarily be common, but it's possible to do. And so now you're a group without a thief, and the DM's got this dungeon he built that's got 1,000 traps. So you are just feeding these characters into traps the DM built. Well, the DM should modify the dungeon. Yeah, maybe the DM should cancel the game for 3 weeks to fucking build an entire new dungeon from scratch. That's possible. Or maybe you just fucking build the game so that players can play what the fuck they want to play, and let the players have the option to kind of go around this thing, to do the things they want to do. Well, maybe players should be better role players to get around those traps. Oh, it's so fucking annoying. But like I said, if I'm allowed to arrange my stats the way I want to, the chance of having a player have no one being good enough to be a thief is realistically not likely, because you're probably gonna roll, especially if you do 46 drop lowest, 4K3, as it's kind of known within John Wick's gaming circles. Not that John Wick, different John Wick. Um, it's like, I want to play a thief. Well, I rolled a 16. I rolled a 15. That's good enough to play a thief, especially if you pick some options that grant you a little bit of dexterity bonus, like playing as a halfling or an elf that gets you that kind of kicks you up that dexterity. But this idea of rolling down the line is ridiculous. But like I said, their mentality is it's forcing players to be good role players. And on the other hand, the Ivory Tower game design have this mindset of, oh, we're going to guide your hand through this wonderful experience, the newest edition of Star Wars kind of does this, where you pick up a handful of dice. It's like, okay, well, this is a yellow D10, and it's got like 8 different symbols on it. Oh, what's this? I got a star with a thumbs up symbol. Well, that means something beneficial happened to you during this thing. Oh, and you got this black D12 that's got a bunch of symbols on it, and a blue D12, and this orange D6, and you're gonna roll 3 purple D6, and you roll, and you just have this collection of symbols. It's like, okay, what does this mean? Well, first you decipher the symbols, and then you like, oh, well, you got 3 bennies and a penalty and a disaster, but also a stroke of luck. And tell me what happened. Like, dude, I literally was just trying to shoot a stormtrooper, okay? It doesn't have to be this serious. But it's role-playing. No, it's not. It's actually the opposite of role-playing. Forcing players to build an entire fucking story for the simplest things is not conducive to role-playing. It's something I have preached over and over and over again. And it's something that so many other people within this community had preached forever, and I keep hearing more and more of them fall away to this victim of Ivory Tower game design. This idea that, oh, we will encourage roleplay, we'll benefit roleplay, and that has never happened. I'm not going to say never, but if you guys think that rolling a bunch of fucking symbols and forcing a player to try to decipher them to tell this is building role-playing, I'm telling you right now, it's not. It's frustrating for somebody who's kind of just wanting to play a loose, fun, kind of, we're just going through an adventure. The current D&D campaign that I'm in is... it's very much like that, I'm playing I'm playing a cloud giant druid farmer, and it's kind of nice to just be able to like be that character and not have to stand there and look at a matrix of symbols or a matrix of numbers and reference these charts that I'm supposed to have memorized and create this fluid story while also trying to stay in character and do the things he would do. It's role players are going to role play. Somebody who is really invested in role play, somebody who's really invested in characterization, somebody who's really invested in drama and storytelling, they're going to tell a story. They're going to role play, whether they're playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, whether they're playing 5th edition, whether they're playing a PBTA game, whether they're playing Hackmaster, whether they're playing Mech Warrior. People who role play, people who want to role play, are in this hobby because they want to role play. They find an enjoyment of it. They find it fun and funny and a way to outlook their creativity. And people who are in it for the mechanics are going to exploit your mechanics. It's the same idea of creating the games, which we're moving away from this, thankfully. But the idea of merits and flaws, where you build your character with all these flaws that are built for roleplay, it's like, oh, it encourages roleplay, except it never has. It never has, and we're kind of seeing it now. And one day we'll see this with the Ivory Tower game design, that it's the exact same as merits and flaws. People who are interested in the mechanics. And here's the thing, people who are interested in the mechanics are just as important to this hobby as the people who are interested in roleplay. People who are interested in the mechanics are the ones who are tweaking statistics. They're the ones who are looking at things and being like, hey, this is a fun this option is optimal, and that optimized option, like, the guy who's not really interested in mechanics, he's like, I want to play this kind of, holy knight, and they'd be like, hey, if you take 2 levels in this class, your character will be a lot more optimal. If you take this option, your character will be a lot more optimal. And that guy who's interested in playing the Holy Knight, he's not less interested in playing the Holy Knight because he's more optimal. He's just a benefit to the party. And the guy who is more into roleplay, and the guy who's into mechanics, that guy who's in the roleplay, he's going to be big and dramatic. He's going to tell stories. He's going to make the party laugh. He's going to talk to the guy who's in mechanics, in character, and he's going to encourage him to play a little bit more character role. And not always. Some people are just set in their ways. But they're going to synergize with each other to make the game better. But your dice will not make that role player roll better ever. 0% of the time. Maybe 0.00001% of the time. You guys are just fucking up your asses about it. You guys are so fucking snobbish and condescending about the idea of roleplay. Like, somehow you've cracked the formula of human nature, of making people who have no interest in acting or storytelling, who are here because they want to play a fun game about hitting monsters with bits of metal. You think you've cracked the code, and you haven't. There is no code to crack. Those people are interested in hitting goblins with swords. You will not change that person, ever. But if you get the game at a point where mechanically it's interesting, not a collection of stupid fucking symbols I've got to cross-reference, not, oh look, I rolled 2 12s. Actually, that's a -12. So what happens is you got a critical hit, but you got a critical failure. Tell me what happens. I shoot the goblin in the head, and then he stabbed me really hard. Come on, you gotta do. I'm shooting the goblin with a bow and arrow. I don't know what else you want from me. You're just gonna drive them away from the hobby, and the problem is the hobby needs those people. Those people help the people who aren't number smart, who aren't mechanic smart. Those people are the ones fucking writing your wiki guides that are getting that people are reading to help them understand the game better. Those people are the ones writing articles about your game's mechanics. Those people are the ones who are going to find a huge game-breaking exploits in your mechanic that will ruin the game for everybody else. But being an absolute jackass to them isn't going to make... not necessarily being a jackass. Putting them on the spot and holding a gun to their head about this shit is not going to make them better role players. Ever. It will never happen. But you guys, the way you talk about discovering the method of roleplay is exactly the way that the OSR talks about the method of roleplay. And you act like what you're doing is some magical, life-changing experience for people, in the same way the OSR talk about how, everything's soft, and once a guy has to run through 3 fucking characters and put his teeth down and grit through. That's going to make a real man. You guys are the same. You're just wearing a different paint of coat. You know, one is wearing a paint of rust and fucking jagged metal. The other one is wearing a coat of mud and flowers. But at the heart, it is still the same fucking entitled, condescending, holier-than-thou douchebags who think you've beaten gaming, who thinks you've cracked the code for human nature, for storytelling, and you haven't. So, here's the thing. Like I said, I've made my position about PBTA games in here perfectly clear. But if you and your group likes to play Powered by the Apocalypse, if you like to play games like Apocalypse World or Dungeon World or Bluebeard's Bride, there's nothing wrong with that. Just in the same way, if your group likes to play Advanced Dungeons and Dragons or Hackmaster or the White Box, there's nothing wrong with that. But the two of you guys, you're not better than each other. Neither one of you understands gaming better than the other. You've built two different games, and that's okay. I'm a huge fan of games with kind of quick and dirty, flat, kind of flashy stuff like the My Little Pony, role-playing game or Danger Patrol, things like that. I like them because I think that when you get mechanics that are just quick and simple, it's easy for everyone at the table to get. You got a little bit of meat for players who kind of want that. But really, it's, to me, a lot of what I want is just to be able to sit down and play a game. I want to sit down. I want to shoot aliens with laser beams. I want to hit goblins with bits of metal. And then I want to go to town. And I want to get into a heated argument with a trader or a merchant about the price of a gem. I want to walk around. I want to pretend to, get into an argument with somebody at a bar. I just want to play a game. I want there to be a story being told that I'm interacting with. I don't need a game where I've got to sit there and look at a collection of symbols, or I've got to sit there and try to figure out why this particular action did 2 points of damage to me before, okay, I'm climbing a wall. Well, you rolled low, meaning you either failed or you can take 2 hits and succeed. I'll take the 2 hits and succeed. Oh, well, what happened that made you take the 2 hits? I don't know. I fell down twice before I climbed up. Well, that's not very interesting. I'm fucking climbing a wall. How interesting can it be? That's not the spirit of Powered by the Apocalypse. Yeah, because it's a fucking stupid spirit. It's fine when you're doing big epic things like, okay, you're at a party. Well, I'm going to try to grill the console for information. You rolled low, meaning you either fail what you're doing or you take 2 hits. Okay, well now I can do something kind of interesting with that. So what I did was I started getting up there. I got I was trying to pretend to get wasted, got a little bit too wasted, bumped into his bodyguard. His 2 bodyguards roughed me up a little bit, but while the guys were working me over, I managed to overhear some information he was telling, Dark Lord Evil Steve, about, the plans for the Doomsday Weapon. Okay, well, there. That made a somewhat interesting scene, but not every scene has to be like that. And I think that that's kind of the problem is with the kind of modern game design is they think everything you do has to be some big showy thing, and it doesn't. Sometimes it's okay to just say you missed the goblin with your sword, or things like that. But anyway, yeah, I just kind of wanted to rant about this for a little bit because a lot of creators I follow are just sinking deeper and deeper into these 2 fucking trenches, and both are just not good for the community. Because they're both such snobby, such elitist mindsets that they're just going to end up tearing the community in half. And I don't want to see this. I want everybody out there to play tabletop role-playing games. I want the fucking Grognar and the Drama Kid to sit at the table together and both be able to have fun with the system. But you guys, for whatever reason, don't want this. You want to make both of them so entrenched in their little subcultures that there's no functionality anymore. It's just bad. So, more than anything, to any game creator out there, anyone out there who is and I know that none of you watched this video, so I'm screaming into the void, but I don't fucking care because I'm gonna do it anyway. It's out here. Just stop. Stop telling people your game encourages roleplay. It doesn't. It never has. It never will. People who are into storytelling are going to tell a story, no matter the system. People who are into mechanics are going to figure out the ins and outs of the mechanics, no matter what the system is. And both people are right. And both people make your table better. Stop pretending like they don't. Stop pretending like your stupid fucking D12 with fucking 6 different symbols on it are going to make people better role players. It won't. Role players are going to role play. That's how it works. I'm hitting my cat. I'm so mad. I'm gonna pound this pussy. Wait, what? Anyway, that's it. That's all I got for the night. I'll see you guys next week. Probably be something a little... I don't even know what I'm gonna do next week. I'm gonna pull out one of my random note cards and see what's going on. Anyway, bye.